Obesity and weight gain is often tied to unresolved trauma, and if we don't address these things and we do not address our mental health, then we cannot address the obesity epidemic. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this is a topic very close to me personally because I have an enormous amount of childhood trauma, and I have a history of binge eating and a history of obesity, having previously been over 300 pounds. Now, some people see me doing this at almost 50 years old, and they're like, oh, I mean, seriously? And it's like, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this. And I think this is something that we as a society have to address, because this is something I've said many times with why the obesity crisis in the U.S. is a multifaceted situation. Yes, it is because of the foods that we have available, which again is a problem. Like literally what we eat and what we accept as food socially and culturally, that really is not food. Most of it is literally just garbage that we have kind of made up in vats and with massive amounts of refinement to be hyper palatable and calorie dense and low in nutritional value. Well, quite frankly, has put us into a bad situation. But the other thing that we have to think about is our cultural bias towards using food as a reward and using food as a coping drug and a coping mechanism. So particularly when we're in a society with unresolved mental illness and trauma is not addressed as much as it should be. So this is a deadly combination. Okay, this is a deadly combination. And then this leaves oftentimes really the morbidly obese people feeling like victims. You know, and before people come in and say, well, that's a victim mentality, it's like, well, it's often people who have been victimized. And it's very easy to stay in a victim mentality when you haven't really addressed that properly. So what we're dealing with when we look at it at its core, we as a society have taught ourselves that food is a reward and food is a drug, okay, that we use to cope with. So how do we do it as a reward? Well, we do it to celebrate everything. First of all of our celebrations are around food, started from early childhood, and it's always junk food, right? How do we celebrate birthdays? Cake, ice cream, all that stuff, right? Big celebration of sweet, high fat foods, right? That is your bad combination. Large amounts of refined sugar, lots of fat together. That is a recipe for disaster, for obesity, for health problems, everything else. Yet that's what we are taught we celebrate with. We celebrate milestones. We celebrate achievement. We're taught this in school as children. We are taught this by our families as children. Okay? And all of our celebrations are built around food and gorging on food. All the special events in our life, all of our holidays, right? Family gatherings, all of these things, we build them around this idea. So this is ingrained culturally in us from early childhood. Food is a reward. It's even done at work. And we're also taught that this sort of food is how we socially bond. Well, humans are social animals. And again, this is what we were taught. This is social bonding. We enjoy these foods together. Of foods that we should be eating only in moderation, if at all. Okay? So, but we have this and we do this. But then here's the other end of the equation. We're also taught, not just for achievement, but to soothe yourself. Again, as children, if you're having a bad day, what do we do? If you've had a really bad time, you've been traumatized in some way, well, we have a treat to feel better about it. You had a bad day at school. Maybe you got in a fight in school, got bullied, picked on by another kid, come home upset, right? We're soothed with this. Well, you had a bad day, had some rough stuff, maybe some mildly traumatic experience. Let's have some ice cream or some cake or whatever, right? This is how we are taught to self-soothe. Our friends do it even as adults, and you know, in many circles. Oh man, you're having this rough day. Well, here, let's get you a treat. You'll feel better about the situation. Okay? See where this is a problem? We are culturally taught to do this. We also use it to soothe trauma. And we do this in an environment with endless access to these things. Okay? Endless access. And we do it in an environment where companies have science, literal food science involved with, can we make our products, all of our refined garbage, that really isn't fit for human consumption? I mean, when you look at the actual what's in a candy bar, or your ice cream, or the milkshake, or a lot of the stuff when you just go look on this, just look at the ingredient list. When you look at that, you should know that's not really fit for human consumption. This is not food. Okay? When you look at all these highly refined things, yet these companies compete with each other. We have to make ours more palatable and taste better than our competition. Again, this is a recipe for disaster. Because this is being done in a culture that treats food this way. We treat it, it really is used as a self-soothing drug. It is a socially acceptable drug for self-soothing, right behind alcohol. You know, alcohol probably being the most deadly. Okay, but food. All right. I mean, if we want to talk about why we have an obesity crisis, there you have it. There you have it in a nutshell. All right, then it goes deeper. What about the fact that we don't deal with trauma? That we have a whole history of silence. We suffer in silence, particularly when it's come to different types of abuse. Now, I'm a survivor of a type of abuse during my childhood to where this happened to me. And I was given ice cream to make me feel better. Told I could eat as much ice cream as I wanted till I felt better. By my perpetrators here. All right. And my story's not unique. Because we don't talk about all these things as a society. And when it comes to a lot of trauma, it's either induced shame forced on you by others, or it's you just have to suck it up. Right? Particularly then, even with men, just have to man up, suck it up. Bad things happen to people. We don't address it. We don't get it out in the open. Hey, we have a mental health crisis in this country. We have an unresolved trauma issue in this country. Look at the sheer number of people who've been subjected to violence, various types of sexual assault, have witnessed atrocities. I don't care whether it's on the streets or in war. Trauma is trauma. And when it goes unresolved, and we live in a society to where we are taught to use food to cope with trauma in the food environment that we have, this is an enormous contributor to the obesity crisis, and it has to be addressed. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.